I'm scared.
You fucking should be.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alright, what is up, my artists? This is like going to be a very different Austintheartist review. It's going to be something taking a look back at, kind of in the form of like a YMS, IHE, fucking, Mr. GG, all those people who made childhood trauma videos. I figured for this week of the Austintheartist reviews of the Spooktackular, we can go ahead and look at my childhood trauma. Now, my childhood trauma is a lot different. You know, when I was a kid, I was kind of a little bitch. So, but mainly it's gonna be a lot of weird stuff. Expect a lot of that. I'm just gonna talk about like the main stuff from at least. I'm not gonna talk about from how scary it is. Actually, I'm gonna talk about it in a way where it's how scary it is, and also the years ascending from where I am now, pretty much. I'm not scared of too much now. There's like one thing, if anything, that I'm scared of nowadays, because I'm, 20 years fucking old. Feel so goddamn old, but nonetheless, though, let's go ahead and get into some of the shit that scared the fuck out of me as a child. So, on that note, let's get to it. So up first, we're going to start with we only have like 6 of these, but up first we're going to start with a smaller one. It's not really too... When I look back at it, it's silly now. Basically, flashback all the way to, I believe, 2008, 2008 or 9. If I'm trying to remember clearly. I know I was like really young at the time, and basically, at the time, my favorite wrestler was the Boogeyman at the time, and basically, he left for a while, mainly for injury, and also when he was gone, he got his teeth fixed, where he actually had teeth. So, flash forward, he fucking returns, and I'm kind of all pumped in a way and everything, but the way he returns, somehow my brain functions in a way where he's no longer my favorite wrestler anymore. He's fucking terrifying. From what I remember, this lasted, I would say, up until I was at least 10 of him being completely terrifying to me. After that, I was fine. Like, I kind of conquered the fear in a way. But in a way, it's weird how a brain, like, sometimes your brain works, and how fucking basically somebody who you think is one of your favorite wrestlers and everything could change in a split second and just be instantly terrifying just because of one change, and that being his teeth. I don't know exactly why it was his teeth that made, like, I don't actually know why exactly. I just know that for some reason, because he was different, with my feeble child brain, I thought, fuck that. I do not want to see this no more. Fuck this shit. And of course, I wasn't thinking all those words in my head because I was a child, but you know what I mean. It was a weird experience, to say the least, and it was it's still hard to put my head around that I was so into this wrestler, and then just with a snap of a finger, when he returns, fucking terrifying. Like, yeah, I think it also has something to do with the song as well. His song was really, of course not now because I'm older, but his song really fucked me up as a kid for some reason. It never did when I first saw him in his first like small little run before he got injured, but when he came back, it just fucked with me bad, like straight up bad. I don't know why. But yeah, this fucking the Boogeyman. He's a great wrestler now, and I do feel weird on why I was even scared of him at that time when I fucking loved the Boogeyman, dude. I fucking like, he was like one of my favorites at the time. I think after Boogeyman, my favorite was John Cena because I was a John Cena kid, of course. But yeah, fucking the Boogeyman was one of my first childhood fears. Yeah, but nothing. It's weird, but nothing compared to how weird the next one is gonna be. Next, we fast forward to 2011, and now this is the weirdest fucking thing. So it's Dreamhouse, the movie from 2011. Now, to this day, I haven't seen the movie. I haven't even seen the trailer. Now, I'm gonna tell you a story here. So basically, I remember a family came into town and they took us to a movie. And it was at this movie. It was at this movie theater called the Campbell 16 is what it was called, right? So basically, fucking, I think we saw, from what I remember, we saw the movie Moneyball. I don't know why. I wasn't interested in it at the time. Of course, now, probably with how I am now watching movies, I would probably enjoy a lot more nowadays. But, you know, fucking, I was like legitimately 7, about to turn 8 at the time, and I wasn't truly a fan of that. But that's not the point. The point is, when we were in there, they have posters in the movie theater, obviously. So the posters sat there, and there were some posters. Like, I think there was an Adventures of Tintin poster. I think I vaguely remember some posters that were there, but I definitely, in my brain, I remember this poster because never saw the trailer, never saw the movie, but Dreamhouse, the poster, this fucking poster, like, for some reason, the poster terrified the fuck out of me. And I don't understand why now. It could have been that the girls were sitting there and fusing into the house. It could have been that it was just 2 little girls on some The Shining shit. It could have been that I vaguely remember thinking that the girls in this poster were dolls as well. Like, I don't know why, but vaguely I remember this. And it was weird because I've never had a problem with anything else kind of like that, especially at that age too. But the fact that it was this poster, and it was, I'll put the poster on the screen, obviously, but like, it always terrified me for some reason when it was there. I think it was only there for that one time when we went, and it still left an imprint on my brain years later that it's a weird trauma to have. It's a weird fear to have. Like, I'm not scared of it now. Obviously, I could look at it and edit it and everything like that now, because it's on screen and everything. But it was the weirdest experience. And of course, I was young. It was, like I said, I was 7, about to turn 8 around the time. And I was impressionable, so that could be another reason. But it's more or less the fact that a poster, something as easily as a poster, could terrify me at that young of age. I don't even think the movie, at least not that I could recall, I think it's more of like a drama. I don't know if it's a horror movie or not, necessarily. So, yeah, fucking probably the weirdest fear, one of the weirdest things that I feared on this list, and I don't think exactly that it could get much weirder than this, but yeah, the Dreamhouse poster. Weird. On to the next one. Alright, so Courage the Cowardly Dog is fucking known for being traumatic. So this one probably isn't a surprise. This actually came, like, I think maybe like a couple months after the Dreamhouse thing. But the weird thing is, the episode that got me the most, it wasn't the You're Not Perfect. It wasn't the fucking, like, Return the Slab bullshit. It was more of, it wasn't even fucking the Fred one, like the Freaky Fred or what the fuck ever. It was the thing that traumatized me about that show the most. It was an episode, I can't remember the episode title, but it wasn't necessarily the episode's premise, it's what happened in the episode. There's one moment in the episode where Courage opens a door and sees this girl. She's just staring at the wall and everything. You don't see her face at first. And then Courage has a sense of relief, and he's not stressed anymore for like a solid second, and the girl, her head flips backwards like the fucking Exorcist in this claymation jump scare. And I remember that was the point on for like years. I would not watch Courage the Cowardly Dog because for one, I don't think I ever saw claymation that often around that time. So I wasn't really familiar with the art style, and also it just took me so off guard that I was just like, fuck that, no, we're not doing that ever again. Courage for me, it's definitely a top 5 Cartoon Network show now, but at that time, I straight up said fuck that. Mainly because of that episode. I don't know exactly what episode it was. I'll probably find out in the process of editing this. But that was the main episode that got me and really affected me as a kid, necessarily. So that wasn't really like a weirder one like the last two, but it still was one that affected me in a smaller but effective way. So, on that note though, let's get to the next thing that traumatized me as a child. Alright, fast forward at least a year in after both the Courage and the Dreamhouse situation. We're in 2012 now, and I was getting big into, I don't know why per se, because like I said, as a kid I was pretty much a pussy, so I don't know why I watched all this. I tried, you know, I desperately tried to watch scary stuff, and that, I don't know why though, because necessarily I was not the scary stuff person at that time. Of course I am now, but at that time I was the biggest bitch, bro, as a kid. But I started watching, I think it was on the Hub. Oh god, that's a blast from the past. The fucking Hub. The Hub aired R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour and Goosebumps simultaneously, like back to back, like every day. And I remember R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour never got me. Like, the intro got me. I always thought the intro was fucking terrifying, but the show never got me. Somehow, though, Goosebumps, the show, got me once. It only got me once. And it was the episode, The Girl Who Cried Monster. Now, the episode started out fine, and it was cheesy and acted terribly, and at first I wasn't really scared, but basically there's a moment where it's revealed that the librarian that this girl goes to is like this bug alien fucking monster, and it's creepy as fuck. It still kind of gives me a little bit, I'm not terrified of it, but it still like gives me a little chill down my spine, because I know I can feel the feeling that I felt as a kid. Like, seeing this at like 8 years old fucking really kind of affected me in that way. Like, I don't fucking understand why I saw it in that way. Because, I mean, Goosebumps was a really silly show. I mean, it did traumatize a lot of kids. But this episode just really got me. And to the point where I stopped watching Goosebumps, and even R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. I stopped watching that, which didn't even scare me at the time. And it was a whole thing where I just stopped watching both of those. I think I stopped watching The Hub in general around that time as well, because those are the only things I would watch on The Hub. I remember I tried to watch other things on The Hub, but it just didn't interest me in a way. So, I mean, but now I could go back and watch Goosebumps episodes or R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour episodes or anything like that and sit there and be fine and all that shit. But yeah, thank you, R.L. Stine, for giving me that traumatic experience with your Goosebumps episodes. It was like really cheesy acting too, so it didn't help the situation. I don't think I've watched Goosebumps in like maybe a couple years now, but yeah, fucking on to the next one. And next up is a shorter one, but it did basically, it affected me for at least a half a year. Fast forward to 2013. I would say this is around April 2013. So something I used to do to go to bed at night is I used to watch a lot of TV, which I know fucking people say, oh, don't watch TV to go to bed. Fuck you. Alright, but fucking basically I used to watch a lot of like kids TV, so stuff like Disney Channel. I know I used to watch Nicktoons, because they would play cartoons like every day, all day, 24 hours straight. So that would be a channel I would go to. I think those are the main channels though, because Adult Swim would be on around that time and everything, and then also Nick at Night would also be on. So I wasn't really like a sitcom guy, at least at that time. Now I'm a big sitcom guy, as you can tell from my That 70 Show video. But nonetheless, fucking basically, I remember I was watching Disney Channel, It was one night where I was watching Disney Channel. I was so tired. I fell asleep at like maybe 6 or no, not 6, fucking 7 p.m. I remember, and I woke up at 3 in the morning. Of course, we're gonna make jokes. 3 in the morning, 3 a.m. But I remember waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning and looking at my TV, because I looked at my TV and this movie was on. Now, at the time, I didn't know what it was, but all I saw was this man coming out from underneath the bed, and he looked terrifying because he looked like a goddamn monster. And straight up, let's just say I did not sleep in my room that night. But basically, fucking, I looked it up. I found out after that the Disney movie was called Don't Look Under the Bed. To this day, I have not watched it. I thought about maybe next year taking a look back at it. Because I've never seen the movie per se. I do know that scene traumatized the fuck out of me, and I will never get it out of my brain of how it made me feel. But yeah, Don't Look Under the Bed. The scene, specifically the scene where the guy reveals himself to the kids. That sounded weird. The guy like reveals himself from under the bed, and basically shows up the monster basically. But yeah, that was Don't Look Under the Bed. Fucking. I mean, I didn't even know there was any like horror-esque Disney movies until then. It's a Disney Channel original movie. I know it came out in the 90s, from what I remember. But yeah, it just randomly was on at like 3 a.m. So yeah, let's get to the next one. Alright, fast forward to another year later. In 2014, I am now 10, close to being 11 at this point. Now, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. I have no problem with the first movie. No problem. It's not as graphic as the second one. By the way, there's a second one if you guys didn't know. It wasn't made by Alfred Hitchcock, but you know. Yeah, so basically, The Birds, I was fine at a young age with the first movie because it was quite tame. But then I had watched the second movie and saw the scene, and this also has to do with like, it's also kind of affects me to this day because I've always had a thing with eyes. And this is the reason that I've always had the thing with like, oh, it really fucking, like, obviously it's painful to see somebody's eyes being like ripped out or pushed in or anything like that, because that hurts, you know, that, like, to watch and shit. But for me, it's like extra because of this movie in general. The second Birds movie, not made by Alfred Hitchcock, so you know, of course, but basically it was so graphic with the first scene with how the birds just pecked out the eyes, and it was so just fucked. And then the fact that the birds killed a dog in the movie as well fucked me up, but it was mainly it was both of them, but it mainly fucked me up with how they killed humans with the eyes and shit. So long-term effect of this, for another half a year, I was, every time I saw a bird, I was terrified. I was terrified of birds for like 6 months. And I specifically remember, I specifically remember going to see Mr. Peabody and Sherman, like, real late at night one night, and basically, when I say real late at night, I mean like 8 o'clock or so, but basically, I remember seeing it late at night, and there was like birds, like, all over the place at this movie theater. I remember being fucking terrified to going into the theater and out of the theater into the car. I was fucking terrified. But I also, in my mind, and this is also like a thing, I have a couple of my fears, and this is why some of my fears, like this one, is actually coming out in real time, because nobody really knows about this. It's not really a fear now, obviously. I love birds. They're great animals. But I always thought, like, if I told anybody that I was terrified of birds, that I would get laughed at or anything like that. I got over the fear on my own, which I was kind of proud of. One day I just kind of stopped being afraid of birds. Like, I was like, they're not gonna peck my eyes out. It's not like a thing where they're actually going to do that. But that was always a thing when I was younger too. I always never wanted to tell people things because I didn't know how people would feel about it. Most of these, like, there's only a couple fears that's been like that. This one and like one more has been like that, and yeah, it's been like a whole. It was like a whole thing, but yeah, fucking. On that note, we got 2 more fears that fucked me up as a child, so woohoo, trauma. Alright, now we get to the 2 very big ones of my childhood. Now, basically, the first of 2 big ones, one that I've actually gotten over, the other I kind of haven't in a way, but basically, dolls, pretty much. I had a pediophobia from about, I would say, 2014 all the way up until early 2018. For about 4 years, I had it where I was just straight up terrified of dolls, mainly because of Chucky. If we're gonna be completely honest, like that franchise is mainly what made me terrified of dolls, and it was ever since I kind of saw, like, not even like, I think I saw when I watched The Purge with my family, which was one of the only like horror movies I watched with my family. It was like my introduction to horror, kind of. But I remember when I watched that, and I saw the trailer for, I think, Curse of Chucky, I believe. That's what kind of fucked me up. And it was to a point where I couldn't spend time with my sister because she was, like, it wasn't that I didn't want to, but it was the fact that she was really into, like, the baby doll phase and everything like that at the time. Along with, I couldn't see any type of doll and not think, oh, that thing's gonna fucking stab me. So it got to a point where it was going on for years and years and years, where I had to go and do exposure therapy to get over with. Basically, watch all the Child's Play franchise from about, I believe, 1 all the way to Curse is how I got over it. Because at the time, Cult hadn't came out and everything. That's how fucking far back this was. But it got to a point where I finally got over that fear and over that hump. Where it's fine. I go watch the fucking Chucky films now and be perfectly fine. I think I own all of them besides... I don't own Chucky Season 2 on DVD. I need to, though. But yeah, fucking... Dolls was fucked up for me. I had pediophobia, and that was like one of the first phobias I had ever growing up. I had one more, and I still do kind of have it, which we will get to in the next one. Truly, though, I think dolls was probably one of my worst fears, though. So let's get to the last one. Alright, so this is what I was kind of referring to earlier in the birds when I talked about how sometimes I just do not fucking feel comfortable telling a lot of people my fears, because to this day I'm kind of still terrified of this specific thing. Basically, I've talked about it on the podcast before. I have serenophobia. I have for about... I've had it for about 12 years now. As of this recording, I've had it for about 12 years. Even with exposure therapy, I can't seem to help it in a way. Now, if you're asking what serenophobia is, it is the fear of mermaids. Now, before you laugh, I have to explain why I had this. Now, years ago, I remember I was getting babysat by one of my aunts, and that was my great aunt. And I don't blame them for this. It was my great aunt and my cousins, and my great uncle, and I don't blame them for this per se, because I mean they probably didn't think I was even listening. But I remember I was playing one of the Nicktoons games on the Wii there, and I was eavesdropping on their conversation, and they started talking about, I guess because for some reason Once Upon a Time, that show was like all the rage or whatever. And they started talking about like old, like how actual fairy tales used to be before, Disney remade them and shit and everything, and how they were really dark and gritty and fucked up. Specifically, they talked about the Little Mermaid one, and how basically the mermaid ate people and all that shit. So it's always stuck with me. And to make everything worse, at the time, My sister was a big fan of The Little Mermaid, Ariel specifically. So I remember we went to Disneyland the year after, and we went on the rides multiple times, along with, you know, just like seeing stuff like that and then thinking about it all the time. It got to the point where I had nightmares. But I never told anyone. I didn't tell anyone for well over 10 years. And the first person I told was my mom. Um, but it's one of those things where I'm not proud of having that phobia. It really upsets me that I have that phobia, and it upsets me that I can't necessarily get over it. I tried so hard. If you look on the live commentaries channel, and when it comes down to when we did Mer Month, I thought that'd be a great idea for me to get some exposure therapy and actually sit there and not be scared of it no more. But it didn't work. It didn't work, and I'm still scared to this day. If you're asking what I'm necessarily scared of, because I know there's only I think 5 or 10%. I don't know how much of the ocean is explored. It's a low percentage. I don't know how much exactly, but it's a low percentage of the ocean is actually explored and everything. And thinking that those things could exist, and then maybe they do, actually sit there and lure people and then kill them and eat them. It's not rational. It's not a rational fear. I've realized that, but it's still something I have, and it's why I don't really like oceans for that reason. I'm not a fan of lakes or oceans because of that, or beaches in that way. I don't let anybody know why, because I'm embarrassed to have that fear. It sucks to have that fear, serenophobia, and it sucks to have that phobia, and it sucks that it's traumatized me for so long over the years. I hope one day I'll be able to actually get over it, but I mean, for now, I'm not, and truly, I don't know when I'll ever be, or if I'll ever be, but it still was a big traumatic part of my childhood, especially with how much I had to relive, or actually sit there and watch and do, watch content about mermaids and shit because of my sister loving the movies, and even my littler sister now also loving the movie and everything. And it's still hard for me to get through it. It's something that a lot of people might laugh at, but it's still something that has really affected me in my childhood. And I wanted to talk about it because it is such a big traumatic experience of my childhood that honestly it sucks. But yeah, that was my Childhood trauma. Basically, all of what I could remember from my childhood that really traumatized me as a kid, and stuff that I still like look back, and it's not some of it, of course, I should say, it's not like all of it is, but some of it is fucking I'm over, some of it I'm not, but still stuff I look back in my childhood and I get that feeling, you know. But on that note, thank you guys for watching this Austin the Artist review. And yeah, we will see you next week for something. Peace.